Good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of House Calls, Real Docs, Real Talk. I'm Shannon Powell Hart, and I'm joining you live for my second time serving as your host for the show. So I'm excited to be back with you. Today, we're discussing childhood obesity. I would guess that many of us are aware that childhood obesity is a huge health concern. You've likely seen headlines in the news or read articles on social media. But how many of us really know the facts and what can we do to change the current situation? Childhood obesity often creates lifelong consequences for these children, but there are solutions to this phenomenon. And I can't wait to explore them with you today. Now, as we move through the show, if you have a question for us, you can go to heart.org/housecalls and submit your question, or simply drop a question in the comments wherever you are watching from, and we will do our very best to grab those and answer as many as we can. Now, a big part of our show is your involvement. So, as we always do, we have a couple of things we want to discuss with you about what you can do. First, hit that share button or start a watch party, whichever is easiest for you, so you can share this stream with your friends and family. Next, take your phone and get ready to text. Throughout the show, we will break for a few viewer questions and we ask that you respond using our easy text to answer feature. All you have to do is text AHA live to 22333. Now, we won't ask for your name or any information. It's just a fun and easy way to answer. You to see the instructions on the screen, so that will help you get started. And we're going to get started this morning. So with me this morning is Dr. Geetha Raghuvir. She's a professor of pediatrics and cardiologist at Children's Mercy, Kansas City. Good morning, Dr. Raghuvir. How are you?
I'm good, Shannon. Thank you. How are you?
I am well, and I'm very excited to hear about everything that we're going to talk about today. But before we begin our discussion, let's start with our first viewer response question. Okay, true or false? Some people are born to be overweight and some thin. There is not much you can do to change this. So go ahead and vote. A is for true, B is for false. And I heard this growing up my entire life. Doctor, I'm sure you've heard this from some parents as well. Okay, so we can see everyone is saying false. Dr. Raghuvir, are they right? 100% saying this is false?
Well, I tend to disagree with it. I think most of us have different body frames. Some of us are large right from the get go. Some of us are very petite. Some are big and tall. Okay. And we also tend to remain that way over time. You might have seen in pediatricians' offices when you take your child for a checkup, they plot the weight on what is called as a growth chart. So if you remember that, it's a range. It is not just one particular number for all the kids who are that age. And the other thing you need to remember is that kids are growing all the time, so the weights are changing all the time. So to me, the question would be, where was your kid a year ago? Where was your kid 5 years ago? So, for example, if the child's weight was average, what we call the 50th percentile, and then a couple years later, all of a sudden, the weight shot up to the top percentile. It's almost 100th percentile. That is concerning. So, becoming overweight and obese, which are definitions which are used in the medical community based on body weight and the body mass index, can change over time, and it can change for the worse, it can change for the better. So I think the viewers are in a way right by saying that, yes, you're born one way and there's not much you can do to change it. Saying that's false is right because you can. But, it's also true that body weights and body frames are quite variable within a given age, and we need to accept that as well.
Okay, so there you go, folks. Thank you so much for clearing that up for us. Now let's get started with our first segment, Health in the Headlines. Now, each week we select one current headline that further enhances our topic of the day. This week's entry is from NPR, and it reads, "Children are going hungry. Why schools are struggling to feed students." Now, Dr. Raghuveer, how do food insecurities and obesity relate?
Shannon, that's a very good question. And the answer is kind of complicated, but I'll try to simplify that. I think when you have poverty, the pressing need is, a roof over your head, food on the table, ability to pay utility bills. So one may take precedence over the other. And then you have limited budgets, and then the question is, how much can you buy? How much calories can you buy? And how can you stretch the dollar? So that's where the problem comes. When you walk into your supermarket and you want to buy high calorie packaged foods, that is probably the cheapest. So children and families who are in poverty tend to gravitate to foods which are high in calorie, high in sugars, but low in nutrition. And unfortunately, the the system and the government has also subsidized these type of foods, as opposed are foods that are rich in essential fats. So it is the cheapest, it's heavily subsidized, same as for soda or fruit drinks. So that's why we have children with a background of poverty consuming foods which are high in sugar and high in starches and low in protein and low in other essential fats. Now, come this pandemic, we have another problem. Many of the schools are also closed. There were lockdowns, and now some of the schools are online, some are hybrid. So with that comes the question of how are these kids feeding themselves? How are these families coping on top of the pre-existing issue? Right now, that is a pressing problem. So, to answer your question, I think the quality of the food that is consumed and that's available to the child is very poor in circumstance of childhood poverty and families which are facing eviction, facing all kinds of other toxic adverse environments.
Doctor, that was very good information. Some things that we may not think about, but are very important when it comes to our children, when it comes to our obesity and just being able to eat a healthy meal. Now we've reached the heart of the show, and this is where we tackle the tough questions from our audience. This segment is called You Asked, We Answer. Now, our first question comes to us from Sandra in Davenport. Sandra wants to know, I'm concerned that my child's weight is too much. How do you know if it's still baby fat versus a problem? Dr. Raghuveer?
So Sandra's question is very common, and parents do worry about their children's weight and if they are becoming obese. I think the first stop should be a pediatrician's office where height, a weight, and a body mass index, which is a measure of how much you weigh in proportion to your height. And that's an index which tells us if your child is overweight or obese. Obesity is 5th percentile. It's at the top end of the growth chart, and overweight is just below the obese level. So I think it's easy enough to determine if the child is overweight or obese for their age and for their sex. But I always like to tell my parents and families that it's not just about how kids look. We as cardiologists are concerned about their cardiometabolic health. We see a lot of teenagers, even older children, tweens, who have adverse cardiometabolic health. So they may or may not be extremely obese. They may just be even within the normal body weight range, but they could have high blood pressure, they could have high cholesterol numbers, and they could have pre-diabetes, which is a form of a condition which results in diabetes if unchecked. So I think, to this parent, I would advocate following with the pediatrician and following the growth chart, and also following the advice, the dietary advice and the lifestyle advice that she receives. Now, there is tend to grow out of it, and it's all baby fat, and you tend to grow out of it. And that's been proven to be wrong, actually. There are tracking studies which have looked at what childhood obesity trajectory is. And the trajectory is, if you're obese as a child, you're very likely to be obese as an adult. So it's not true that, you just tend to grow out of it as you go through puberty.
Important information and great advice, Doctor. This next question is coming from Janet in Green Bay. Now she asks, does my child need snacks? And how often should my child have a snack?
Of course, your child needs snacks. We all need snacks, okay? So I think a good breakfast, a good lunch, and a good dinner, and a couple healthy snacks in between is part of a heart-healthy diet. So, in terms of what is a good snack, there are many readily available foods which are healthy snacks, as opposed to chips, as opposed to, pizza. So you can talk, for example, vegetables dipped in hummus, or maybe a cheese and fruit paired together, or maybe yogurts, as long as they are sugar-free and don't have any added ingredients in them, or hard-boiled eggs. These are all really healthy snacks, and there's a whole host of healthy snacks we can choose from. And I forgot about nuts. Nuts are, as long as you don't have allergies to nuts. Nuts are, again, a source of good protein and essential fats. So it is very important for a child to snack, especially if they're growing rapidly as they're going through puberty. But it's important to make the right choices.
You're actually making me a little hungry, and I just introduced hummus to my children, and they love it with celery or carrots. So I'm glad I'm on the right road with that one. But here's another question coming from Marlon in Indianapolis. Question: I have a really picky eater who really wants to eat a few things. How do I get him to eat vegetables? And part two, is it okay to hide veggies in his meals?
Well, I think it's okay. I think, you don't want to lie to your kids. So at some point, they'll come to know, and they may not like you, but that's okay. I think it's okay to hide vegetables. And then once they realize they actually liked it and ate it, they may be more accepting of it. With vegetables especially, I think, Shannon, it's an acquired taste. It's not that we're all born liking all the vegetables. We are still getting used to vegetables. There are many vegetables I haven't tried. So it is something which evolves over time. As long as we offer every now and then the same thing cooked differently, or, something new, which is also non-starchy and healthy, that's fine. So I think it's fine to have a picky eater find out what the good foods the picky child likes, and there are always good stuff which we can promote, and then probably scale back on the high sugar and the high starch foods.
All right, Marlon, I hope you're watching, and I hope that answers your question. And there are lots of questions, Ken, but let's take a break for another poll question. Go ahead, grab your phone and get ready to text in your answer. As a reminder, all you have to do is answer our answers is text AHA live to 22333. If you've already registered, you don't have to register again. You just have to get ready and text your next answer again to 22333. Now, our question is, how often should children exercise? A, every day. B, once a week. C, twice a day. D, 3 times a week. Now, if they're small, that's it seems like they exercise all the time because they're running on and on and on. So I see many people are saying, how often should children have physical or activity? And we're looking at 15 to 30 minutes a day, or at least 60 minutes a day. So people are kind of split on that, doctor.
Mm-hmm.
How often should children exercise or be physically active?
Okay, I agree with both the options, and I think at least 30 minutes a day. And if they can do 60 minutes a day, it's even better. But I think here's the thing, with younger kids, it's important to perform physical activities that they like play or some kind of sports they like, rather than putting them on a treadmill. So I think it's important to understand that as long as kids are engaged in physical activity, which they enjoy, the minimum is at least 30 minutes a day, but a maximum of 60 minutes a day sounds really darn good.
All right, sounds like everyone needs to get out, including our kids. Now, let's move on to one more question. We want to test your knowledge and see if you know which of the following can childhood obesity lead to. Now, A is high blood pressure and cholesterol. B, increased risk of type 2 diabetes. C, breathing problems like sleep apnea and asthma. D, greater risk of social and psychological problems such as poor self-esteem. E, higher chance of obesity as an adult. And F, all of the above. Now, we definitely want to hear from you on this, Doctor, but while we give everyone a minute to respond, I have something we want to share with our audience. As many of you may know, the American Heart Association Scientific Sessions is happening soon, November 13th through the 17th. Registration is open, and this year it's all virtual, which means anyone can attend from anywhere in the world. Now, for those of you who may not know, Scientific Sessions is our premier event of the year. The conference spans basic clinical and population science in cardiovascular and resuscitation research. Sessions offer opportunities for making connection, growing your career, learning, and discover. Watch this quick clip for more information. Okay, there's still time to register. And I want to get back to the results of this poll. Now, most people are saying F, all of the above. I am going to wager with F. Dr. Raghuveer, go ahead and give us the answer and explain a little bit.
I know, just as sad it is, F is the right answer. So childhood obesity can result in a lot of conditions, which is not good for the cardiometabolic health. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, which can also result in heart problems. Then you have breathing problems like sleep apnea, which can also cause heart problems. And then, of course, we have all the mental, psychological, social stigma and poor self esteem. So, and I touched upon this previously that, if you're obese as a child, it's quite likely you will remain obese as an adult and pile on all these complications as you get older. So, unfortunately, the answer is F. So, it can cause a lot of other problems which are not listed here, also, like joint problems and other gastrointestinal problems. But I think it's important to understand that the effects of childhood obesity is pervasive. It is not just how kids look. We shouldn't be worrying about what size they wear or how they look. We should be concerned about what's happening to their hearts, what's happening to their arteries, what's happening to their lungs, what's happening to the inside of their body.
This is very important. I never thought about it like that. Now that I have children, it is something that I definitely think about often. And that leads right back to our topic at hand and address a few more viewer questions. And here's one from Martina in Fresno. She says, my husband and I are vegetarians, and I'd like for our kids to be too. What do you need to do, or what do you need to consider when it comes to a vegetarian diet for children?
Well, I'm a vegetarian, so I can tell you, you can eat heart healthy on a vegetarian plan. However, I think most vegetarians need to watch out and make sure they're not eating too much starch. We tend to make up for the protein with starch. However, if you focus on some protein-rich foods, such as legumes or seeds or other good fats such as yogurts and cheeses. It kind of is a fine meal plan to be a vegetarian. You by nature of the definition, you're getting a lot of vegetables which are good for your blood pressure, good for your heart, and has a lot of benefits, has essential minerals and other essential nutrients. So it's good to encourage your kids to be vegetarian, especially if you are. It's easier for you to, prepare meals also. But I would watch out and make sure that you're not indulging in too much starchy foods.
Okay, really important and great information to know. Now, Luz from Tucson says, my child has gone back to in-person school, but the administration has closed access to water fountains. What can I do to make sure my daughter stays hydrated throughout the school day?
Actually, Shannon, hydration is really, really important, and we tend to not address that a whole lot. So I'm glad this question came up. I think if the school allows the child to take a water bottle, that is the best way to deal with it. If not, you can get an excuse note from your pediatrician that would allow your child to take a water bottle. So fill the water bottle and send the child along. Now, children need a lot of water, and especially during the spring, summer, and fall months, and especially if they are engaged in activities outside, which you want them to. So it's really important to remain hydrated, and up to 2 liters of water a day is probably what would be recommended, maybe even higher in very hot days. So it's important to drink water. And I would emphasize not to drink sugary beverages or even energy drinks or sports drinks. It's really important not to indulge in those. They just have a lot of added sugar. They may have some electrolytes. For example, Gatorade has electrolytes, I agree. But, for a child who's engaged in ordinary physical activities, you really don't need those electrolytes. So I would just say water is the best means of hydration.
I give my children water all the time. And one thing they keep saying is, I want juice or some other drink. But when I really read the back of the container, I was like, that's almost a full meal of sugar.
Yes.
In one small cup.
You can drink more than you can eat. So it's very easy to drink a lot of calories.
So you have to be careful of that. Now, I want to get to our final question. It's from Tara in Colorado Springs. She asked, I'm exhausted during the week and don't have the energy to prepare healthy meals for my kids. Are there shortcuts that are still healthy?
Yeah, of course. A lot of the heart healthy snacks I mentioned earlier, cheese and fruit and vegetables, hummus, yogurt, and hard boiled eggs, nuts, they don't need a lot of preparation. They don't need a whole lot of preparation. You just need to be organized, and when you go shopping, make sure you buy the right foods which are nutritious. Now, the other thing is to get your meal prep done over the weekend. And so you're not cooking every evening as you walk in the door. It's really important to carry heart healthy snacks in the car, especially if you're traveling with kids from one game to another or from one event, extracurricular event to another. Because if you don't, then you're going to drive into a McDonald's or Burger King and buy the stuff you shouldn't be buying. So I think it's very easy to be organized, to shop in a heart healthy manner, and to load up your fridge and pantry with foods, whether it's snack or main meal items, which are very easy to prep. I think, if you get some work done up front over the weekend, it makes it a lot easier during the week.
Well, I can sympathize with that parent, because on the days I do not take a snack in the car, my children are so unhappy with me, and they're wondering, what happened to our popcorn? What happened to our snack that you normally have in the car? So I hope that answers every parent's question about just making sure they can still have a healthy meal. Well, unfortunately, that is all the time we have for questions today. But if you have more questions, drop them in the comments and we will grab those for the House Calls After Show, where we work to answer more of your questions that we couldn't get to today. It'll be available on the American Heart Association's YouTube channel later this week. Well, right now it's time to get our audience involved once more. And what would you say? All right, so all you have to do is drop some of those questions in comments, and we'll be back with those just a little bit later. And if you've been with us throughout the show, you already know what to do. Go ahead, grab your cell phone, and get ready to text your answer to 22333. Now, we want to know a few things about your eating habits. Okay, so here we go. Here's our first question. Which statement best describes your typical dinner routine? A, we sit down as a family every evening. B, we eat on the run. Or C, we each fend for ourselves every day. Now, right now, about 100% of you are saying we sit down to eat as a dinner, as a family. And we're in the middle of a pandemic, so sometimes it's just a little bit easier to do that since we're all together and we're quarantined together. Some people are still eating on the run. I can totally understand that. Doctor, what do you suggest? I know you're not going to say fend for yourselves is the right answer.
I think option A is the best. However, it's really, really hard to achieve that. I am not able to achieve that many nights. So I'm going to settle for a combination of option A and option B. I think it's really important not to eat in front of a computer or in front of television. You tend to not realize how much you're eating in those instances. And, there's nothing wrong with fending for yourself, for a teenager as long as they pick out a balanced meal, as long as they pay attention to the plate model, which we talk, which everybody should be familiar with, that you need to have vegetables on your plate, you need to have your protein, and you need to have your starches. You can't have a plate full of mashed potatoes and pasta or rice and something else and no vegetable on it. You need color on your plate. You need protein on your plate. So I think how you eat is probably less important than what you eat. And what you eat for a child is determined by the parent mostly or by the school. So they're not voluntarily eating something or not eating something. They eat what they're offered. So I think as parents, we need to be aware of that opportunity to offer heart healthy meals, which are also nutritious and tasty, by the way. So a lot of kids sometimes and families believe that, oh, heart healthy, maybe it's not going to be very tasty, but that's not the case at all. You can eat a very nutritious meal, which is also very tasty. So I think we need to make eating a pleasurable event for everybody, not just those who are overweight and obese. They also need to understand that we're not telling them to skip meals. We're not telling them to eat less. These kids are growing. We want them to grow. We want their bones to be strong and healthy. We just want them to eat the right food. So they need to enjoy food and not be worried about eating.
Doctor, I want to address some of the people said that we each fend for ourselves overnight. I'm assuming that can happen in any household. I think it feels like it's happened in our household, but I have 2 small kids, so I have to make sure I fend for them.
Yes, I think that happens a lot, and especially in families where they have teenage kids who are busy, who are coming in and out at different times or have different schedules. It's so easy for teenagers to fend for themselves. And as I said, there's nothing wrong with that as long as the kids understand what is a healthy combination and what is not. So I think that's where some parental direction or some kind of limits as to what is purchased into the house. If you have a big box of soda in the house and tell your teenager not to drink it, that's not going to happen. So it's really important not to buy foods which you shouldn't be, which you're telling the teenager not to drink or eat. So I think you need to practice what you preach. Kids do what we do, not just what we tell them to do.
Very good advice. And our last question, let's talk solutions. Tell us which of the following are ways to encourage kids to eat healthy and get active. Okay, there you go. Make a favorite dish healthier. That's A. B, drink water. C, incorporate healthy snacks. Teach kids about serving size. Limit screen time. Or F, all of the above. Okay, go ahead and vote. You can select more than one. And let's see, right now everybody is saying all of the above. Some people are saying make a favorite dish healthier. And I like that idea, not just for children. Dr. Raghuveer, look at these numbers. People are saying incorporate healthy snacks. You see a third of them saying incorporate a healthier take on a favorite dish, and then all of the above.
I think they're split, and I think they're all good answers. The only answer I really don't care about so much is teaching kids about serving size. Shannon, honestly, I think if kids are eating the right foods, they're going to be satisfied and they will stop. It's just that when you're eating a lot of starch, when you're eating a lot of sugar, you tend to get hungry because the metabolism of sugar and starch, the blood sugar rises and drops down again. When it crashes, you're hungry and you go for the sugar again. Whereas if you're eating a healthy, nutritious meal with protein and healthy fats, the sugar metabolism is very even keel. So you're not just going to overeat too much. But I think they're all good answers overall. But certainly making a favorite dish healthier is going to be something which might be acceptable very easily. Drinking water, maybe not. There are some kids who really don't want to drink water. So we might have to do something like sometimes I say drop a slice of lemon, drop a slice of apple, and the flavor might be something you will like. You really don't want them drinking diet beverages and sugar-free beverages either, which might have chemicals and other ingredients we're not familiar with and which might not be nutritious. And the third item, healthy snacks, we talked about. I think snacking is a healthy part of a nutritious meal, and a couple snacks a day is not going to hurt you. In fact, it's really encouraged. So I would agree with the first three. I talked about serving size. I'm not a big fan of teaching kids, look at the label, look at how many grams of sugar and carbohydrates, and that'll bore anybody, let alone kids. So I don't think we need to go that route. We just need to teach kids what a good food is, what a good meal is, what are the options, what are good snacks, and make them gravitate towards those. Limiting screen time is really, really important. And in this day and age, it's not television, it's mobile phones, it's all kinds of other media. It's really hard to limit that. I think we all have problems limiting that because a lot of our work is related to sitting in front of a screen like we are now. I suggest that, kids and adults who have a long screen time take breaks periodically and get at least a 5 to 10 minute brisk walk or something other than sitting in front of the screen. So I think all these answers are very good answers. I think if you could practice all of them, which 67% agreed should be the route to go, I think that's even better.
All right, there you have it. Thank you very much. Now that we've heard from the doctor today, there are lots of solutions. Some are easy and some are not. Some may be related to things out of the child's control, but we know every child deserves the opportunity to live a happy and healthy life. So let's see what our viewers say. And doctors, that was just really great information that you gave to us. So Dr. Raghuveer, for all of us parents of small kids and picky eaters, I know you've given some really great information, and we thank you so much for joining us. And I will tell you, as a mother of two really active, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, this is a topic that is of great interest to me and many and all moms that I know. So thank you so much for the time that you have taken to discuss this on the show. Any final thoughts before you leave us today?
Yeah, Shannon, I think we all need to enjoy life and enjoy what we eat and not be afraid of eating, not be afraid of food, and not be anxious about it. And I think in children, it's not important to just watch your kids' weight all the time only and not do anything about it. I think it's important to inculcate healthy habits at a very young age, at as young as preschool age. That is the time to kind of instill good habits. So I think they should start early. We should encourage kids to like foods which are good, and as parents, be good role models and not bring in foods and snacks which are not heart healthy. So we need to understand that ourselves. And I'd also like to say one more thing. There is a lot of concern in the society about eating fats. Not all fats are bad for you. There are some healthy fats. We talked about eggs, we talked about cheese and yogurt. Those are all heart healthy fats. Dairy is heart healthy fats. Nut fats are heart healthy fats. So there is a notion that eating fat makes you fat. And that's not true at all. It's the starches and the sugars and overabundance of starches and sugars which make you fat. So I think that would be my final word, to make sure that parents don't gravitate away from all fats. Definitely, I wouldn't recommend the fat from McDonald's or deep fried foods or packaged foods, which tend to have a lot of salt and sugar in addition to the trans fat. But certainly, I would encourage parents to explore a heart healthy meal, which includes healthy fats.
All right. Dr. Raghuveer, thank you so much for your time and all the great information that you've left us with today.
Thank you.
Now, before we sign off, we have one more thing to share with you, and that is our weekly health hack. Of the Relentless, the American Heart Association's podcast. Go to heart.org, iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play to find it. Here's a peek at what you can expect.
So you have these pervasive pockets of poverty. And with these pervasive pockets of poverty come all sorts of perpetual social determinants of health problems aligned. And what people really don't understand is how difficult it is to be poor in New York City. Being poor in New York City, and in particular in the South Bronx, is a full-time job. And we're trying to alleviate some of that burden for parents, for teachers, for schools, and most importantly for children, because they show up every day anxious and eager to learn.
Now, this week's health hack comes to you from Susan, who recommends using mindfulness tips to clear your head and relieve stress. She suggests taking time to enjoy simple things like sitting for 5 minutes outside and really feeling the sun on your face. Now, she also suggests taking a moment at the end of the day to write down 3 good things about your day before going to sleep. Susan, thank you so much. It's so important to take a few moments for yourself and focus on the positive and what we can control. Now, remember, we feature a new tip each week. So if you have a great idea, send it to heart.org/housecalls, and maybe you'll see your idea live on the show. Okay, everyone, that does it for our show today. Thank you for joining us from all over the world. I saw Kuwait, I saw London, I saw Los Angeles, I saw different areas of Florida. Thank you all for joining us. And if you've missed part or past shows, just want to refer back to them, visit the House Calls website at heart.org/housecalls, where you can find all of our previous episodes all in one place. And don't forget, there are always more questions than we have time to answer live. If you didn't get yours answered, we'll work to answer as many as we can on the House Calls after show. Look for it later this week on our social channels and on the AHA's new podcast. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm Shannon Powell Hart, and I will see you back here next week.
I know you're saying, ugh, her again, but that's okay because your heart is saying yes. Ready? Lunge 1 and 2 and 3. Nice. 4 and let's hold this one. Lunge, hold. Imagine doing this every day. You'd literally be lunging into a healthier you.
Learn more about House Calls, Real Docs, Real Talk, and submit your questions at heart.org/housecalls.